and Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. How's it going? Happy Monday. TGIM. Thank God it's Monday in clinical research. I know it's summertime. I know people are busy vacationing, traveling. Let me tell you, it's been extremely busy with new people wanting to start sites, research naive physicians wanting to start sites. I think coronavirus had an impact on physicians thinking about, okay, well, maybe I can do clinical research. There's been a lot of success stories of people out there who, investigative sites and PIs who have done really well on the COVID vaccine studies, COVID treatment studies. So I think that word of mouth circulated, and it's finally getting to Main Street physician that, hey, not all of them, but way more than before. Whereas in the past, maybe like less than 1% of physicians ever considered clinical research. Now I'm seeing like a little uptick in that number. So it's been busy. Also, people wanting to get into research, like who are not doctors, but CRAs, CRCs. It's been busy. So I'm going to do a longer podcast on this and also a related topic of rationale and justification in clinical research, and how really, good clinical practice is very vague in, and it's very GCP, for all the emphasis we place on it as an industry. It leaves a lot of things open for interpretation. And what it boils down to is this whole thing with justification. We've been doing probably 2 or 3 new client calls every day about physicians wanting to start their own research sites. And they're always asking different questions. How does this work? How do referrals work? Can we use a nursing home instead of a hospital for an inpatient clinic? As if there are some set standards, like set regulations for these things. And the only regulation we have is good clinical practice. And what good clinical practice basically says is the PI and the sponsors must do what is in the best interest of the patient, the study participant, in terms of keeping them safe and not adding any unnecessary risk. So that leaves a whole lot of opportunity and outside of the box thinking for how to tackle problems in the industry. And now you're going to add another layer of complexity to that with decentralized trials. So I'm going to do probably a short video on the justification and rationale in clinical research, and definitely a longer podcast on the keys to, like, why physicians even want to do clinical research in the first place. So, just a few of the observations that I've had over the last decade and a half. And, I'm currently working with 4 PIs who we just onboarded or are in the process of onboarding. 3 of the 4 are research naive. 1 has experience. 3 out of the 4 seem to be entrepreneurial minded. So they're looking for equity partnership with me in their respective clinics. And then 1 of the 4 is interested in long-term doing studies, investigator-initiated trials, where he actually wants to own the IP. And this is something we talked about today on Clubhouse, keeping it real in clinical research with Marjorie and Carla from Topaz Clinical Research. So I think you guys should get on Clubhouse. I think Clubhouse is a great way to network. I think Clubhouse is a great way to meet people. We have grown relationships, through our sites on there. Speaking of Clubhouse, Louisa was just on there. I think Clubhouse is definitely, if you're looking to network in this space, Clubhouse is like going to a conference every day and at least the networking part, but sometimes the presentations part as well. Christine Naro, shout out to Christine Naro. Speaking of Clubhouse, she's the Clubhouse queen. And she's also a CRA. And Christine asks, how do you own the IP? So I've worked with 4 physicians in my career who had an idea about their own investigational product. Either it was a repurposing of an old drug, or tweaking that old drug, or in some cases, creating something brand new or a new combination of drugs, as in the case of the oncologist that I'm still working with. And all the CRA Academy interns get to work with the oncology study, immunotherapy. In the case of that immunotherapy study, it's a combination therapy. They could actually own the IP, the investigational product. There's a lot of loopholes in the regulatory process where you can take an existing drug that's gone generic, tweak it, bring it out to market yourself, do the studies, repurpose it. ChemPharm, KMPH, the company, I interviewed the CEO 2 weeks ago, Travis Mickle, great guy. He's the guy who invented Vyvanse, and now he's doing it again with Astaris for ADHD. They found a loophole where they created something that's called a prodrug, where they tweak a generic version of an existing drug with their own IP and then go through the clinical trial process. So there are physicians that do want to get involved on that aspect. They tend to underestimate the costs and the complexity of doing clinical trials. They assume that they think it's a great idea, and because they've seen it work, just on their own patients, that the clinical trial is going to be successful and the regulators are going to approve it, and that's usually not the case. And they think it's going to be cheap, or cheaper than it actually is, and they think it's going to be easy to find patients. And as we know, if you've been watching these live streams, videos, podcasts, Clubhouse, assumptions are generally a bad thing in clinical research. Yes, Christine, prodrug, diamond hands. By the way, KMPH, not financial advice, great stock. So that's, some physicians are interested in that. As a site owner, I have no real capabilities of helping a physician do that. However, as a small boutique CRO owner who basically works with pilot studies like this, we do have some value. So when it comes to working with these doctors, I like to basically tell them, look, whatever it is that you need help doing or want to do, I either can already do that, I can put you in touch with the people and manage the process, or we'll make it work somehow. This is, from my experiences working with physicians, they have a couple of different needs. Number one, for the most part, I would say 80% of them, they are looking to increase streams of income to their practice. Oftentimes, it's to diversify away from the traditional Medicare payers, insurance payers. Other times, they just want to make extra income so that they can hire new staff or buy the building that they work in, or different investments, things of that nature. That's a relatively simple sales pitch. Research pays relatively well if you enroll a moderate number of patients. For other PIs, I would say 50% to 60% really want to provide alternative treatments to their patients. And thankfully, I think the number is a little higher, where they actually consider the needs of the patients, which I know sounds crazy, but I mean, healthcare is a business at the end of the day. I would say about 60 to 70% actually put that as a priority, like at least the top two, extra income and alternative treatments for patients. Then you have the ones who are just curious about research. they think it's more cutting edge than it is. And don't get me wrong, research can be very cutting edge, but the kind of trials we do as private research sites, there's nothing really innovative about what we do. We take a protocol from a drug company, we follow it to a T, we collect the data, and then we enter the data in a database, basically. Basically, that's what we do while following good clinical practice. So you have probably 20% of doctors think it's going to be this cutting edge breakthrough stuff. And then when they start doing it, they realize, no, this is not really what I wanted. What I actually wanted was to create my own IP and actually do the research. So there's like 3 or 4 different personality type. I don't know if it's personality, 3 or 4 different profiles that I've created for physicians, entrepreneurial or not. Those are the 2 main categories. Is this person an entrepreneur? Do they want equity? Or do they just want, like, are they an employee mindset where they just want extra income? And sometimes you can be both. You know, you can start out as a employee minded. You can kind of date each other. Matter of fact, 2 of my doctors, when I moved to Arizona, fall into this category. Both, I believe, are entrepreneurial minded. One I know for sure, the other one I'm going to have a conversation with. But at the end of the day, like, it's so exciting, especially if it's in an area that's underserved. It's so exciting, and I'm an entrepreneur. It's so exciting to be able to bring something new to a community that's never experienced that before, like clinical research. You know, and that's hard to do in the big cities. I mean, the big cities, for the most part, are saturated with research sites. However, that doesn't mean the patients in those communities are being served properly or adequately represented. It just means there's a lot of research opportunities there for them if they choose to do so, or if somebody educates them. But in these small communities, it's even more exciting as a site owner, because you're literally creating something that doesn't exist. So to me, the sales pitch with these physicians is, look, this is not being done right now in our community. Let's check all the boxes off. Like this, we can do this, and this. If you want to do all 4 of these things, like, and there's probably things you haven't even thought of that we can do as well, like doing inpatient studies, or merging outside of the therapeutic expertise, or if you're like in a border town or someplace in Florida that has exposure to Latin America, you know, you can even go international. So there's a lot I want to cover on this podcast. Christine Naro says, let me know if you need an invite to Clubhouse. Hey guys, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, heart, thumb up, share. Christine will hook you up with a Clubhouse invite. So will I. I think I have like 12 right now. Linda, how's it going? Luisa, I'm curious about it. Does that IP have to go through a preclinical stage all over again? The answer is it depends. It depends on the IP, on the drug. It depends what it was used for and what you're trying to use it for. For medical devices, there's this thing called I think it's called a 510K. I actually did half of a 510K once for a sponsor. I actually learned a lot doing that 2 years ago. You can repurpose an existing technology for a new indication or for a similar indication with some tweaks. So for drugs, it's the same thing. You know, you may not have to go through preclinical and phase 1 all over again. Sometimes you do. Those early discussions with the FDA are super critical for that. And this is where regulatory affairs people come into the picture. Prodrug, Diamond, KMPH. John says, Christine, can you add me to Clubhouse? John, you're smart. Let's get on there. This is what it's all about. Carla was just on. Shout out to Topaz Clinical Research, Apopka, Florida. What is cutting edge for me is creating the protocol. I miss a little of that from basic research. It is interesting. Definitely interesting. Not a lot of money in that if you are the sponsor. A lot of money going out. Not a lot of ways to get the money coming in for that. Uh, I currently am working with 2 physicians on this, and possibly a third soon, but I'm not sure about that. They have to understand the costs. Marjorie, shout out to you, Topaz. You guys are working late at the office. Thank you for a very good clubhouse. Stephen, hi, Dan. I'm a project manager at a research site. I'm looking to become a project manager at a CRO or sponsor. Your thoughts or recommendations? Go to Indeed or ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn. Look up project manager roles at CROs and sponsors. Look at the job description and the duties and reverse engineer that to your CV. Because I'm sure you've done all that at the site level, and the bigger the site, the better your chances for transferable skills. But let's say you're at a small site. You can still do it if you tweak your CV properly and make sure that you're putting all the tasks and relatable skills that are on there on that CRO and sponsor job description on your resume. Keep the questions coming. It's exciting to build in a small rural area, but it can be so frustrating figuring out enrollment where there's just less population. Yeah, you have to find the sweet spot. So it doesn't have to necessarily be rural to be underserved. The place I'm moving to, I wouldn't call it rural. It's like 200,000 people. So I think that's like the sweet spot. You know how I talk about the sweet spot of the market caps for biotechs being like between 200 million to just under $1 billion? Well, I think it's the same for cities, for sites, research naive cities. 100K, 200K, where there's no other competition, there's plenty of population. The challenging part is the physicians in those communities do so well financially and are so busy because physicians tend to not want to stay in those communities. They tend to want to be in bigger cities. So that's the real challenge from my experiences, which caught me off guard too. I didn't think physicians in those cities made so much money. They make like double or triple what a physician in a big metro city would make in these smaller communities. So really getting the PI. Damien, ask your questions. Everybody put your questions through. Jose, 505B2s are big on the drug side, changing the dosing method. Yeah, there's all kinds. This is where the regulatory affairs people come in. I wonder your thoughts on states giving back sweepstakes and if this would be coercion, correct? Very good question, Damien. On the surface, I would say yes. If you put it in the context of a clinical trial, recruiting for a clinical trial, no IRB would approve adding a sweepstake to attract more study participants, like a lottery to attract more study participants. YouTube doesn't even let me do that with my YouTube memberships page. They say, hey, you can bring in new subscribers. They can pay $9.99 a month to join your private membership page on YouTube, but you can't do lotteries. You can't do sweepstakes, things like that, because those things can be rigged, right? And it could be considered coercion. And being a YouTube member is nowhere near on the range, on the spectrum, what taking a vaccine would be, right? Doing anything related to your health. So you're right, Damien. And I live in one of those states, California, where they're actually considering that. And I know this is a polarizing topic, but I think that's a little strange to me. I don't think it should be done. I guess it's however you want to rationalize it, though. I mean, if the ends justify the means, depends what the ends are. Marjorie, super excited for your new site and your new town. Me too, Marjorie. I can't wait to start vlogging about it more. Once I get settled in, vlog the process, really starting over like from scratch, from day one. For those first 3 to 6 months, I'm going to be the main coordinator. I have a medical assistant who's going to work with me. She's my niece, and I'm going to train her to be the CRC. but that's going to take time. Can't just hand her the keys on day one. That'd be a good way to get the doctors scared about doing research, or just leave before the going gets good. They'll leave when the going gets tough. The going gets tough before the going gets good. We know what works in bigger cities will not always work in the smaller towns. What is exciting, once you get in, you are in, and you can definitely make a big difference for an area that probably didn't have many options. Yeah, look, I've always been in huge metro, like I've been in and around LA, Los Angeles, my entire career. So it's nice to go someplace smaller and see what I can do. Be a small fish in a small pond rather than a small fish in a big pond. Maybe even have a chance to be a medium-sized fish. Wouldn't that be great? How's that for ambition? Evelyn. Oh my gosh. We forgot last week, Evelyn. Evelyn. It was my job to remember. It was your job to remind me, Evelyn. It's okay. We'll do our update this week sometime. Totally forgot. I'm in the middle of a move. I live amongst boxes now. We got to do it. We got to make sure that you get hired. What an amazing potential study coordinator. One of our best CRC Academy students in the greater Orlando area looking for work. Superb asset to any organization. Knows how to draw blood, MA, willing to work, willing to recruit, well-spoken, go-getter. I don't know. I think you have Topaz Clinical Research written all over you. All over you. I agree on that. Luisa says, I agree on that. We need more sites open in near URM areas and provide transportation. Transportation is highly needed in minority communities. I agree. Look, we're going to use Uber Health, Uber Lyft, whatever. I'll go pick up the patients myself if I have to. I mean, we do what it takes to get the patients in and keep them in and make sure they have a good experience. Q2, who's Q2? Q2, never even heard of Q2. Who's Q2? Q2, Icon, PPD, and PRA are looking for project manager. There you go. The guy earlier who was asking about PM. I don't remember who was asking, but there you go. I miss Clubhouse. Where is your new site? New site, fingers crossed, Yuma, Arizona. Hopefully before the year is over. We already have a PI or two, trying to get a second. It's a lot. I think this is going to be good. I have a feeling. I'm prepared for it not to go well either also. But I have a feeling it will. Okay, Danny. Great name, Danny B. We have our first site selection visit at the end of the month. We're super excited. We'll keep you posted. There you go, Danny. This is the year to do it. Last year was the year to do it. This year's even better year to do it because we're not shut down. What's the best way to get time with physician for prospective site when his gatekeeper is being difficult? Find a way to get to him directly. Pray to God that they're on LinkedIn, and then be patient on LinkedIn. One of the prospective doctors that I'm talking to, it took 3 months for them to get back to me on LinkedIn. And I do have a LinkedIn premium, so I was able to message them directly. But be patient. Not every doctor checks their LinkedIn. Find a way to get to them personally. A lot of doctors post their personal emails on different profiles. Try to see if you can find them on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Some doctors have their own YouTube channels with very small subscriber bases, so they're happy to get comments. Twitter. Believe it or not, some doctors are on Clubhouse, so you don't want to deal with the gatekeepers. Try not to deal with the gatekeepers. And if you have to deal with the gatekeepers, bring bagels or donuts or Starbucks. They love that. It's amazing what some donuts will do. It'll buy you 5 minutes with a doctor. I've done it. I've gone into doctor's offices. Receptionist tells me they're busy. They can't see me. So I go the next day with a box of donuts. And I say, is he busy today? Handing them the donuts. They say, let me go check. Hey, he has 5 minutes. So it's the little things. It's not always going to work, but. Evelyn, no, you are okay. I did not forget. Okay, good. I was not ready. Okay, I got you. Hopefully this week. The community wants to know, Evelyn. How's it going? The community wants to know. And congrats on graduating, too. That's awesome. Q2 is part of IQVIA. I got to look into this. Obviously, I know who IQVIA is, but what's Q2? This is like mind blown to me. What is Q2? Super cool. Danny B says, yes, I wasn't expecting it to happen so quickly. We just started January 2021. That's the kind of year it is. Some doctors like Twitter. You'll be surprised. Absolutely. Greetings from Japan. Hi, Dr. Sabrina. How's it going? All right. Happy to meet again. Absolutely. So that's it, guys. I might keep it short and sweet. Let me know what other kind of content you would like. Oh, Q2 is the central lab. Okay, that's interesting because I know they merged with Quest, right? So maybe this is, I get it. Quintiles and Quest labs joined. The company, the CRO side, I'm assuming became IQVIA, and then the lab became Q2. That makes sense. Q2. Shout out to my sister-in-law, Rachel Kennedy Sfera. Please buy me a donut. I have yet to watch that documentary about donuts, but I know you're obsessed with a particular kind of donut, and I do want to watch that documentary. Shout out to my sis-in-law on Facebook. Facebook is like my weakest, guys. If you're on Facebook, you need to like, share, comment. Like, there's like nobody on. I think it's the algorithm on Facebook that just refuses to show anything associated with a page that doesn't spend money on eyeballs. Like, Facebook is not helping out. YouTube, LinkedIn, I think they play fair with the algorithm. I think Facebook, the algorithm, if you're a page, is skewed to, hey, if you want to get in front of people, no matter how valuable your content is, at least I think mine is somewhat valuable, you have to pay. You have to pay to play. But nice to see some life on Facebook. And then Evelyn says, thank you. So I finished LinkedIn on Friday and I started applying today. I'll message you. I bet you by Friday you'll have interviews, Evelyn. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Got to get going. Wanted to get my live in on Monday, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And LatinosInClinicalResearch.com. Let me put it in the comments. You have to. Tomorrow we have our free webinar. No, you do not have to be Latino. I am not Latino. LatinosInClinicalResearch.com. An email reminder went out today for our free Zoom meeting tomorrow. Talk about networking. I'm going to send another email reminder tomorrow morning. So if you're watching this right now, you still have time. Go to LatinosInClinicalResearch.com, subscribe to the email list, and get the email tomorrow with the Zoom link and everything. LatinosInClinicalResearch.com. And if you're watching this later, subscribe anyways, because every month sometimes we do multiple. Premium on LinkedIn, worth it? Yes, if you use it. My favorite part is if you don't use it for a couple of months, your credits roll over. Like, it gives you a certain number of credits to message people that you're not connected with. So if you don't use those credits for 1 month, they roll over to the next month. So if you're doing a lot of outreach, a lot of biz dev, I think it is worth it. So the short answer is yes, I do think it's worth it. I don't think it's necessary, but I do think it is worth it. Have a great Monday night. Got my t-shirt. I sent another one out today to our other ambassador. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much. And I'm gonna do those podcasts and videos tomorrow. And we'll catch you all later. Make sure you share, comment, like, subscribe. Please, please, please help me out, especially on Facebook. Help me out. Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.